Samuel Ayim is my name. I'm the Chief Leadership Coach at CTL Africa Leadership. Y3L, Young Leaders Learning Lab, is the latest program that we are adding to the offering we are doing. Y3L is targeted at the youth, particularly young people who are transitioning from school to work. There are so many issues, ideas that people need to have before they go to the workplace or when they leave to school, how to live their lives, many of which are not taught in school. So Y3L is to bridge the gap between school and life. We have developed a 5-model program to fill this gap. The first one is personal development. Number 2 is corporate and professional development. Number 3 is financial and entrepreneurial development. Then the number 4 is what we call values and African orientation. Foundation of all this is leadership. So we have a full model on leadership development where we are going to teach our young people before they go to work true concept of leadership as adding value to yourself and adding value to others, and not the selfish leadership we are having today where people go into leadership for title, position, and what they will get.
Hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Leadership Platform. My name is Samuel Ayim, and I'm excited to be with you this evening. Saturdays, are my favorite days, especially from 7 p.m., where I have opportunity to meet like-minded people who are ready and willing to personally grow their leadership, where I get to bring my guests who are seasoned leaders to share potent, powerful ideas on how we can become better human beings and better leaders, all for the sake of our continent. And this evening, we're going to have an amazing session with our speaker. So please go ahead, share the link with your friends, with your colleagues at work, with your boss, your bosses, and all the people in your team. Invite them, because this evening's session is going to be very, very useful to every leader. Again, please go ahead and introduce yourself, whether you are joining from YouTube or you're joining from Facebook Live. Please let us know where you are coming from. Give us your name and where you are joining from, and we will be happy to announce you to the whole wide world. We know that many people join the platform and they don't introduce themselves or they don't make comments, and we understand that. But it is a pleasure to just tell the whole world that you are here, just as I can see Hilda Sabin, who is here from Brunyi Bima Church of Christ. All right. Where's Brunyi Bima? This sounds like a fancy name. All right. And then I have Yvonne Minta from Accra. I have Derek Senior. And okay, Derek, where are you joining from? I have John Ray Adams. He says, hello, sir. I have Foster Bediakon Bafu, I think, if my eyes can read well. All right. John Ray, obviously. John Ray Adams is from Cape Coast. That is a proper fancy name, John Ray Adams. All right. So please invite your friends, share the link. And I know so many other people who are connected. Please introduce yourself. We get people to join from all over the world, and we are grateful. All right. You just saw a preview video, which is the Young Leaders Learning Lab. This is a program that we've put together. We're still working on it to be able to provide comprehensive material and information for especially young leaders before they go into the world, so that they'll be ready for anything, developing themselves, leading others, leading at the workplace, taking on their own businesses, and having an orientation towards Africa. So please join us, go to our platform and learn more, register, book an account for the Young Leaders Learning Lab. You can scan the QR code so that you can register and open an account. Once we launch the program, you will be one of the very first to take advantage, and we will have some gifts for you. All right. So with no further ado, I want us to go right into it. We have our speaker who is here with us. Dr. Jeff Bassay is no stranger to this platform. He is the founder of the Leadership and Strategy Leadership Institute, and we want to just bring Dr. Bassay on and have a quick chat. I'll just ask him one or two questions so that he can say what he wants us to know. Doc, if you're ready, you are welcome to the leadership platform. All right, good, great. Well, Doc is my brother and my friend, and I just love him. I love what he does. But Doc, please just quickly, I mean, you've been involved in leadership development. I think you led the setting up of the HR institution or certification for HR. Now you've set up the Strategy and Leadership Institute, and you're doing so many things for organizations and so on. What is the motivation for you? What is it that make you go out and set up these institutions and do these things?
Very well. A very good evening. I imagine there are a couple of persons who are not joining from Ghana. Depending on which country you find yourself, I am greeting everyone. And let me say a big thank you to Uncle Sam, who have been keenly committed to these projects for quite some time now. Some of the time when people ask me our secret for succeeding, if at all we succeed in what we do, I always tell them. Somebody was telling a brother of mine, why does your guy seem to succeed at a few things he does? And then my brother told me, oh, my brother, his juju is consistency. Consistency. So I
Yes.
guess you have been immensely consistent to this. And I say thank you to you and your team for the honor of inviting me once again. I feel honored because if the first one was not, if you may, accepted, you probably would not have brought me again.
Oh,
So
it was hugely accepted. That is why we brought you back.
we thank the Lord for that. And so our motivation is simply purpose driven. You want to be sure that you can also contribute a bit of your quota to to your continent. I had always mentioned that my assignment is in Africa. I don't have any assignment with the West, and I've said that time and again. And so, a little contribution of ours. Indeed, we set up the HR Certification Center some 10 years, and by God's grace, we are celebrating our 10th year this year. We've been doing bits and pieces of stuff. To mark the 10th anniversary, we had an HR walk. By God's grace, we had done a grand opening of our new facility at East Legon. That was just 2 weeks ago. We dedicated the new facility, and then we'll be climaxing the 10th anniversary sometime in November at our conference. Then a year ago, by God's grace, I launched the Institute of Leadership and Strategy, precisely 28th of June 2023, Kempinski Hotel. And for me, I haven't gone around quite a number of companies. I've been through more than 200 companies, most of them in Ghana, the MTNs, the Absa Banks, the Talo Oils, Coca-Cola, etc. I have come to some conclusion that too many of our managers and professionals are trained in hardcore leadership with little or no hardcore technical skills, managerial acumen with little or no leadership. And the resultant effect of that is how our organizations are heavily overmanaged and heavily underled. And that was actually my motivation for, launching the Institute of Leadership and Strategy. I realized some is looking at this from very holistic viewpoint, the younger ones building their moral fiber and personal leadership brand, etc. We have been very much focused on the, if you like, executive leadership. So more like corporate leadership. And that is the bit we have kept our focus in, other than the generality of leadership. So that have been our motivation at the Institute of Leadership and Strategy. And God has been good to us. Within the last 1 year, we have firmly taken off. Some 165 senior managers have gone through our executive programs.
Great. Doc, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you can understand why we brought Dr. Bassay to the platform to discuss the subject of strategic leadership. I mean, we would have no better person than Dr. Jeff. So at this point, I'll just leave Dr. Jeff to share some thoughts with us. Please don't go away when he says this end of presentation, because that will not be true. There's so much apport that will come in the interaction. You'll have opportunity to ask questions. You'll have opportunity to share your views, and Doc will be here to input into it. So please feel free, put in your question as we go along, share what you're learning. As you type in what you're learning, that communicates to us that you are with us, and also helps to stick the ideas you are learning into your subconsciousness. So Doc, let me leave you at this point. Thank you so much. The audience is ready for you. Take us away on strategic leadership.
Thank you so much, Uncle Sam. And let me say a big thank you to everyone who had made the time to be with us this evening. I had always said I don't pretend to know more than my audience, especially when you are talking about leadership. I am not here to teach chemistry. I'm talking about leadership. In leadership, there are really no absolutes. There are no absolutes, because leadership is more situational than cast in stone. So I'll be sharing just my thoughts with you. I'm sure during the interaction session, I will get to hear your own views and thoughts on some of the issues. We will not be talking about supervisory leadership today. So it's not about how to take care of the other person necessarily, but how to provide strategic direction for the business, for the organization, if that is the understanding I got. We are dealing with strategic leadership. I've come to realize that when people are even promoted into strategic roles in our part of the world, they still think administrative or personal issues running around, instead of appreciating the fact that now the work is here. You're going to assess what is working, what is not working, what to change, what to stop, what to continue, what to minimize, etc., providing strategic direction for the organization. I have an opening question on my slide, and it reads, can leadership really turn around the fortunes of an organization? Can leadership really turn around the fortunes of an organization? The first school of thought says, listen, top management could not do much due to constraints as characterized by systems or industrial forces or culture that act as inertia. And I've met this in quite a number of public organizations. The leaders tell you, well, it is a system. There is really nothing much we can do. The economy is bad, blah, 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 blah. Management says, we can't do anything. There are constraints that are mostly characterized by systems, by industrial forces, by culture, by processes, by the economy. So the first school of thought said, it doesn't matter who is in office. If the business will not work or the company will not work, you might as well not worry yourself. But there's a second school of thought that says, yes, organizational leaders, through their strategic actions, are able to affect the organization's performance, as they have the ability to create systems, structure, set direction, and implement controls to monitor implementation. Second school of thought says leadership can turn around the fortunes of a company. All you require to do is that you need to set strategic direction, the ability to create systems, structure, set direction, and implement controls that monitor implementation. I got engaged to run a session for the executive committee of one of the organizations in the aviation industry in Ghana. In Ghana, if the example is a -1, you don't mention the name of the company. That was a 3-day session. And if you care to know, management is at 3 levels, as we all know. I mean, fundamentally, we have line managers who are basically supervising managers. Line managers manage people and activities. So when you go to a typical bank, a branch manager can be deemed to be a first line manager, or the lowest level, the lowest layer on the management ladder. Then we have the middle level managers, call them senior managers. Senior managers manage managers. Typically, if I want to use the banking industry again as an example, you have about 5 maybe to 15 branches, depending on the cosmopolitan nature of the environment. You have a number of branches under the leadership of one senior manager, normally referred to as the area manager. So that's a layer 2 of management. Senior managers manage managers. Then you have the third layer, who are the executives. These are executive managers who manage the organization. Chief Executive Officer, Chief Operations Officer, Chief Finance Officer, Chief Credit Officer, Chief Risk. Once you hear Chief, that guy is at the executive level. Now, I went to do this 3-day leadership session for the executives. I'm emphasizing it so you appreciate what the concept I'm about to share with you. So these are the creme de la creme, the guys who call the shots, who have the final say. Now, in my normal engagement, a 3-day, I will spend about first 2 hours to break the ice, to appreciate the challenges of the people, so we all can be on the same page where we are going. So I will throw that question I have always thrown. What are your challenges as an organization? And you will hear things like, we got to meet the quarterly sales targets, we got to produce the reports, and you have to demonstrate return on investment, and you got to make sure that total asset of the organization is improved, and you deliver profit on the table for the business owners, etc. A particular senior manager gave me a response that was that caught my attention. He said, our problem here is our systems. One of the reasons why we are not growing. And I'm like, hold it, your systems is the problem. Folks, I just told you I was running a session for the executive committee. Now, if I was running this training for line managers and they complain of their systems, I would put it in my training reports and give to the senior managers to do something about. But when the guy who is responsible for creating the system, the executive, is also complaining of the system, your guess is as good as mine, then we are in trouble. Then you cannot go for the second school of thought. But we're going to work with the second school of thought today. That yes, organizational leaders, through their strategic actions, are able to affect an organization's performance as they have the ability to create systems, structure, set direction, and implement controls that monitor implementation. Now, this is what Karen Brand said. I love to quote it when I'm doing leadership. It says, some people make things happen. Some people watch things happen. And then there are those who wonder, what the hell just happened? I don't know which of the three you are. Do you make things happen, or you watch things happen? And or you're actually wondering, you are surprised, you are shocked. Now, when you come to my office, and by God's grace, now our new executive training center, you'll find a lot of leadership quotes all over on our walls at the training rooms and even in the offices. And one of them that comes from me is that the essence of leadership is change and growth. If things are not growing, if they are not becoming better, if we are not improving on them, leadership becomes a waste of everybody's time. I had a conversation with the immediate past chief executive officer of Talo Oil, Mr. Kwekwawochi. He's the current board chairman for UBA. And he asked me a question. He said, Jeff, after interacting with you, you seem to have done quite some work on leadership in Ghana. What would you say is the leadership capacity of the Ghanaian manager? It took me 2 weeks to get back to him with what I thought was the leadership capacity. Now, technical skills is not tantamount to leadership. I guess we all know that by now. There are some 3 leadership myths I always like to talk about. Position myth. I occupy the position, therefore I am the leader. No, the position gives you access to leadership, the right to exercise authority, to direct the actions of other people, to apply resources, that is a myth. And then we also have the manager myth. I'm a strong manager, great administrator, and I am actually not discrediting that. But these things just augment you as a leader, but they may not be leadership in themselves. Then there is also the knowledge myth. I am the subject matter expert. If you're a chartered accountant and you have an MBA in finance and you are made a chief finance officer, nobody should make more sense than you. You can be technically astute and fail woefully at leadership. Now, just quickly before we have a short conversation on strategic leadership, I normally, and it's Mr. Kwekwawochi who actually put this idea in my head. He said, Jeff, never talk to people about strategic leadership without first and foremost averting their minds to the need to build a personal leadership brand. And since that is not the main topic, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I ask people, do you carry a presence? Do you carry a presence? When you appear, are people ready to act willingly without you compelling them? Because leadership have a lot to do with influence, getting people to do by themselves what hitherto they would not have done, but because you are involved, because you are in charge. And then what's the general impression people hold of you? Do we say that because you are involved in that project, it's under control? We are talking about Samuel Yim. Samuel Yim is on the committee, so don't worry, go to bed, everything will work. What impression? Or Samuel Yim, are you sure? You know that guy, and that you are put him in charge of this. Are you sure this project can be sustained? What is the general impression people have when your name is mentioned? When your name is mentioned. And bluntly, my third question, are you a leader? Now, I am not asking if you're a professional. I know it takes a lot to be a professional in just any field. Being a qualified lawyer is no joke. Being an engineer is no joke. I am a chartered accountant. I know what I went through. It's no joke. So I'm not here to attack anybody's professionalism. But beyond your professional acumen, your managerial technical skills, are you a leader? If I had time to do leadership branding, these are some of the questions I ask people because I want to know what type of a business leader you are. If you're asked to lead a program of change, Do you prefer to write down all concrete plan, or you rather phone everyone you know, or you worry about how it's going to affect your colleagues, or you set aside some time to analyze the situation first? Depending on the answers you give, I have an idea what type of a business leader you are. Or look at the second question. Your new team is demotivated and has lost direction. Do you prefer to, one, sit down with them to work out new responsibilities, or you take them to the pub to discuss the problem, or you would rather talk through the situation with individuals one to one, or you want to study last year's team performance reports to know what to do next? As much as all of them are plausible, if you are dominant on one, I have an idea what your leadership branch or style would be, and depending on the environment you find yourself, you could succeed or not. If you're asked to coach a junior colleague, what would you rather do? Tell them how to get to the top. That's to motivate and to inspire them. I know Sam is a certified coach. I am not a certified coach as yet. I hope to certify very soon. Would you tell them how to get to the top, or you phone them frequently to encourage them, or you listen to their experiences and simply be supportive, or you wonder whether coaching has any real value at all? I guess this is the final one, or last but one. You are asked to oversee the reorganization of the department. Do you set a plan with clear goals and deadlines, or you suggest lots of examples and stories about how it could be done, or you ask for suggestions to improve for the improvement from staff, or you carefully plan a detailed a detailed stage position considering all the legalities. Final one, you assure that your big idea will make the company more successful, but the board does not agree. What would you rather do? Stick to your guns and directly tackle their objectives, or you want to lobby all their close associates and persuade them to support you? Would you rather wait, because it is more important to have a good relationship with the board than to disobey them, or you gather all your facts and go back to them and be persistent? Now, for these 5 questions I've asked, if your answer is mostly A, I can tell the type of leader you are in a business environment. If your answer is mostly B, if your answer is mostly C, if your answer is mostly D. Now, this brand that you build would also have a certain effect on the team you are leading. Now, for me, my best definition for strategic leadership is what you see on the screen. It's not a 2 dot, it's a one statement. Say, aligning people, systems, and resources to achieve organizational vision. Now, for me, there are nearly everything about an organization's health, whether the company is doing well or not, whether the company has future or not, can be measured through 3 lenses. Nearly everything about the health and the future of a company can be seen or measured through 3 lenses. The first one is the company's employee engagement level. Where are the people coming from? What is their background, their experiences, their knowledge, their skills? When they come in, how are they trained? How are they developed? How are they engaged? How are they positioned and optimized to deliver on product promises to customers? The first lens from which we measure whether an organization is doing well or not, it's its employee engagement. Because no organization, and I'm saying this with emphasis, no organization can outgrow the collective knowledge and experiences of the people who run it. I'm going to say that again. No organization can outgrow the collective knowledge and experiences of the people who run it. The organization's level of success is always commensurate to the collective knowledge and experiences. I have been fortunate to have sat in many management decisions of companies because I consult for them. And sometimes when you get into the rooms and we have to discuss the hard numbers, you want to look at the balance sheet, you want to look at whether we are growing our asset, even if those assets are being generated, are they helping us to create revenue for the organization? And everybody's talking about the big issues, the capitalization, name it. One of the first questions I will ask, if I told they see me as a consultant, for which reason they brought me to that meeting, one of the first questions I will ask, are your people happy? Are your people happy? If your people are not happy, a lot of the things we are discussing here will not see the light of day. They will just remain on paper. The second lens from which we measure whether a company is doing well or not is its customer satisfaction. And please, I did not talk about sales. You can be selling, people will be buying, but they are not happy with you. And that is what David Norton and Robert Kaplan tried to cure with the balanced scorecard, how to measure the performance or the success of the company from different perspectives other than just the fact that we are making money. You can actually sell by fluke, by stroke of luck. And truth is that high sales is actually not tantamount to growth all the time, all right? So are the customers satisfied? Are we delivering the product they want at the right time, the right quantity, the right quality, the means of delivery? And then the third one is the organization's cash flow. Now, if you look at it very carefully, you realize that the success of the second one is dependent on the first. If you don't get your employee engagement right, forget your customer satisfaction. Guess what? If you don't get your customer satisfaction right, forget the cash flow. So sometimes when I have to lead strategy sessions, like when we have to formulate strategy and provide all those directions for organizations, at the strategy session, I asked managers to be candid with me on a scale of 1 to 10. What is your performance on employee engagement? Then you tell me, oh, 4 out of 10. What about your customer satisfaction? 5 out of 10. And I tell you, don't tell me the third one. I know. If you get your first one wrong, your second one wrong, I know the third one is weak. Likewise, an organization that says that they are strong on employee engagements, which obviously should translate into some level of customer satisfaction, don't tell me about your cash flow. I know once your employees are engaged and the customers are happy, they will deliver the money on the table. Now, of course, my conversation is bordering more on leadership than technical issues. And so my concern is about the foundation some more. And so this is a question I asked. I guess I asked the same question the last time I engaged you on this platform. Don't be bored. It's just a question after my heart. I've been through more than 200 companies so far. I clocked my 200th company in the month of April. So as we speak now, we have done 209 organizations, consulting, training, etc. And each of them, I ask them this question on your screen. Why do organizations have difficulty implementing well-formulated, analysis-driven, implementable plans? And they spend some good money to do this. I mean, I have facilitated strategy sessions for Bank of Ghana, for Finis Insurance, Coca-Cola, etc. And these guys go to very expensive facilities. You go to Royal Senchi, you pay 4,200 Ghana cedi a night for 5 nights, multiplied by 50 managers. Aside cruising on the river, the food they'll eat, the fuel they have all driven there. And if you may, the opportunity cost of work left back in the office undone. But after all of these things, return to Accra or return to the office. And just about half of all companies that go through this, spend millions in doing this, actually have the strategy seeing the light of day. Strategy actually provides direction for organizations. In my candid opinion, the reason this happens, why organizations would normally have difficulty implementing well-formulated, analysis-driven, they always look very implementable on paper, but some of the time fail to achieve them. And we are in the middle of the year. In fact, a few organizations have actually engaged us already to guide them in their mid-year review. And so the focus is, let's measure what we have done for the first half of the year. If there are deficit differences or discrepancies, how do we arrest them? Now, because of the exogenous or external forces of change that will impact on the organization. We got to look at how do we refocus so we can drive the rest of the year properly. Now, this is what Jack Welch said. Jack Welch was the chief executive officer of General Electric for about 20 years. Under his leadership, he grew the total asset of the company from $13 billion to $400 billion, one leader. He said, when the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end to that organization is in sight. When the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end to that organization is in sight. I guess we are all conscious of the fact that we are doing strategic leadership and not supervisory leadership, all right? Okay. Now, why does this happen? Why do many companies fail their performance target in spite of the fact that they invest a lot of time, a lot of money into planning? In my candid opinion, why execution fails is this. Let me just skip that. Execution fails because, one, there's lack of leadership and strategic direction. I guess I've said on this platform, and I'm going to repeat it. People don't, or workers, employees, people don't follow documented plans. They follow leaders. They follow leadership. Employees don't follow documented plans. They follow the leadership power behind those documented plans. The second reason is the lack of communication of the strategy, lack of proper communication of the strategy. In our institute, instead of leadership and strategy, of course, all we do is leadership and strategy. In a typical strategy course, we spend quite a lot of time on strategy execution. It does look like nearly every company now knows how to prepare a strategy. The problem is that strategy seeing the light of day. And one of the key reasons is that there are no proper communication channels. Indeed, I have said and I insist that one of the most powerful tools of every leader is your ability to engage and to communicate. Folks, nothing influences the human heart more than words. Nothing influences the human heart more than words. There's a lion in nearly every human being, but some people's lions are sleeping. And all we need is leaders to wake those lions up in them and cause them to roar. Lack of communication and employee buy-in. And then lack of skill and resources. Now, too many a time, a lot of emphasis is placed on the last one to the neglect of the first two. But let me challenge you, leaders in the house. When the first box is ticked, many a time, all the others get sorted. When you tick the box of leadership, skill is sorted, resources are sorted, because leadership is what brings about all of those things. That slide I skipped. I skipped it, but I wasn't feeling too good. So let me talk to you about it. I say that one of the key or the fundamental differences between management and leadership is that whilst management works in a system, leadership works on the system. Don't forget that. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Whilst leadership is about, this is how we do it. That is how it is done in this industry. Oh, as for Ghana, this is how we... No. Leadership is questioning the processes, challenging the processes, finding out why it cannot be done in a better way. Now, today, in my candid opinion, an organization's main sustainable competitive advantage is in its ability to learn and act faster than competitors. Strategic leaders in the house, let me say this again to you. Today, an organization's main sustainable competitive advantage. So not just having a competitive advantage. I was reading a book last month, authored by one Rita, I've forgotten, she teaches at Columbia Business School. Pretty good at strategy. And she authored a book. He said, competitive advantage is dead, it's gone. Now, what is she trying to say? No company now can say, well, we are the industry leaders, and so that is it. No. So to sustain that, will be in your ability to learn. I will explain learning to you very soon. I'm not talking about training and development. To learn and act faster than competitors. Now, if you can cast your mind in retrospect, Gen Zs will not understand what I'm about to say. But if you are not a Gen Z, if you are a Gen Y, like myself, or maybe a Gen X, the best companies in our world, maybe top 10 companies in the world before 2010, guess what? None of them is on the list of best 10 companies today. In other words, the top 10 companies we know today were nowhere close to top 10 before 2010. That's how fast. In fact, size is no longer an advantage to any company. I've said this to quite a number of firms I have interacted with. We are big, we do big ticket deals. Size is no longer the advantage. Today, the advantage goes to companies who have innovation and speed. Don't forget those two words: innovation, speed. Innovation, speed. So, what do I mean by learning? Because we're talking about strategic leadership. Now, what you have on your screen right now, on a good day, I can spend maybe more than 4 hours just trying to dissect, to explain what you have on your screen very simply. You got to continuously conduct what we call situation analysis. Conducting situation analysis. What is the industry saying? Guys, have you even come to realize that today it's not just organizations that are dying, industries are dying because business as usual is no more. Means of getting the product to the customer have tremendously changed. So conducting a situation analysis. Remember when those two boys at San Francisco determine which taxi picks you and I on the street of Accra? I'm talking about Uber. They don't know Accra. They probably are not interested in knowing Accra. They may never be here. But because of their initiative in San Francisco, the taxi driver in Ghana is struggling to feed his family. So we want to first start by conducting a situation analysis and do some learning from there. Once we do that, we get insights, implications, and we appreciate the strategic challenges. Then we have to create a new strategy, or we have to create a new focus. So by conducting a situation analysis, we define our strategic choices. Now, strategy fundamentally is about making choices. Fundamentally, strategy is about making choices. Now, when I say a choice, I mean focusing on what will give you success. Now, folks, this is what makes focus difficult. Focus is difficult not because you got to concentrate on one thing. Focus is difficult not because you got to say yes to something, because you got to say no to a lot of things. And if you don't have that mastery to walk away, to say no to a lot of things, because sometimes I engage companies, and when we are discussing strategy, I'm like, what are your choices? And then the CEO goes like, we choose to focus on customer. I said, no, that's not a choice. Have you ever met any company who says that our choice is not to focus on customers? A choice is a choice because the alternative is equally beneficial, but you decide to walk away from it. Because strategy fundamentally is about making choices. Let me try to break it down so everybody can relate. I want to travel from Accra to Kumasi. I have many options of getting to Kumasi. I can go by flight. I can go by a private vehicle. And even if I'm going by a private vehicle, I have the choice of driving myself or paying somebody to drive me. I have a choice of going by bus, maybe STC or VIP or something. Once you give your options, you got to look at which of these three will give you the greatest competitive advantage. Now, going by flight will save you a lot of time and stress, but it would have a lot of toll on your pockets. Now, going by a private vehicle, if you are driving yourself, you are playing with fatigue. You are burning a lot of fuel. Should you decide to go with a driver, you burn fuel, you have to pay a driver. Okay, we decide to go by bus, VIP. It's so easy on our pockets. I know the things you have to contend with. You may get there in 6 hours' time. You don't just pee anywhere you feel like peeing. The driver got to stop somewhere at VIP, at maybe Lindador. And guess what? You will watch a lot of Ejako movies. Whether you like it or not, you will watch those movies. All right. So, but then it is easy on your pockets. Now, so these are we define our options of getting to doing the same thing. Which of them will give us the greatest advantage? We make we weigh that we do what we call optional analysis, which I've just done with you. Then we make a choice. Every company is confronted with making choices. Did I hear somebody say, well, what about organizations like MTN? They have all the resources. No, they don't. If they do, they would have been everywhere in the world. Why are they concentrating on Africa and the Middle East? Why are they not in America? T-Mobile whipped them. Why are they not playing in the European market? They got to make a choice where to put their resources, all right? So when we conduct a situation analysis, it helps us to define strategic choices. And then the most important area, and that's where what I'm about to discuss now is where the leadership comes in. By defining our strategic choices, we got to create systems and structures. We got to create processes. We got to have the right talent and provide leadership to those people and create the right enabling environment, call it culture. Now, many companies are crying for good talent, good talent. I liken talent to the content, and I liken the cultural environment of the company to the context. So you can have a good content without a good context, more like a king and a kingdom. Now, I have seen situations where Mr. A is a brilliant performer in one company, an abysmal performer in another company. It's not the same guy. So whilst we are all crying for the greatest of talent, you also must be creating the systems, the structures, the culture where this talent can thrive and deliver on product promises to your customers. Thereafter, what do? We implement experiment. Now, what I've just walked you through now, the world we find ourselves now, every serious company got to do this minimum once every year. That is minimum. The organizations like Nike and the rest are now doing what is on your screen now once every 6 months, once every 6 months, once every 6 months, because of the constant changes and preferences of the customers. Like I mentioned, Jack Welch said, and I quote, when the rate of change on the outside exceeds the rate of change on the inside, the end to that establishment is in sight. The rate at which customer preferences are changing, technology is changing, government legislation is changing. If your internal responses do not commensurate those exogenous or external changes, very soon we will look for you and you will be no more as an organization. So the last bit I want to quickly walk you through, and then I will be open to questions. What I think strategic leadership requires. Strategic leadership requires aligning people, systems, and resources to achieve organizational goals. How do we do that? It always starts by inspiring a compelling vision. Now, vision is to create the future, register it on your mind, and use it to drive the present day's actions. And because you are working with a team, that vision cannot remain in your head. I've gone through quite a number of firms, and before I train for you, I want to know you. What is your vision? What is your mission? What are your corporate values? What are the challenges on the ground? And so I don't joke with my needs assessment. I think coming Thursday, Friday, we'll be doing a leadership session for Prudential Life Insurance. And we log them up for a long time just to appreciate what are your challenges, what are your difficulties, where is the company going, what are the corporate values that help you to get there. Otherwise, we're going to reduce the entire session into just an academic exercise. Now, what I've observed is that it does look like every company have a vision statement, mission statement, core values for prestige purposes, because these things are normally written, framed, and hanged on the walls at reception. You get into the training room and ask your participants what their vision, mission, values are, and they are looking for documents so they can read it to you. I'm like, wow, how long have you been working here? These things are not imbibed in you. Now, inspiring a compelling vision is not just about framing up, framing up vision statements, but it's about getting people to appreciate why we are here as an organization. And quickly followed by that is the second one. Once you inspire a compelling vision as a strategic leader, the next thing you do is to bring strategic clarity throughout the organization from top to bottom. Bring strategic clarity throughout the organization. Folks, in the absence of clarity, people become confused. And when their people are confused, they don't act. I'll say that again. Lack of clarity breeds confusion. Confusion breeds inaction. Now, to bring strategic clarity in the organization means that you must achieve what I call synchronized thinking. Everybody should appreciate why he does what he does. What is the strategic linkage between his job description, that small assignment is doing, to the overall vision of the organization? And until people appreciate the strategic, relationship between what they do and the vision of the company, they truly do not find meaning to their work. By that, people then begin or pretend to be working because they got to put body and soul together. They have bills to pay. And then really they are not doing anything much. So I normally want to tell the story of when America was first preparing the astronauts to go to the moon. It was under the leadership of President Nixon when they made the first attempt. The president visited a secretariat that was preparing the astronauts for them to go to the moon and met a gentleman. Now, between you and I, the gentleman's work is to clean, to mop the floor. But the president didn't know. So the president just greeted him, "Good morning. What do you do here?" Listen to the gentleman's response. "Mr. President, I'm helping to put a man on the moon." Have you noted he didn't say, "Mr. President, I clean"? "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." That is a staff, that's the worker. I don't particularly give him the credit. I give the credit to his leaders. That made him to understand that, listen, you're not just doing cleaning for the sake of it, but there is an overall vision and objective to be accomplished. Every leader have a responsibility to bring strategic clarity to everybody's work. Why you do what you do, what will go wrong if you don't do it timeously, what will go wrong if it is not done well, the rippling effect it have on organization. More like bring conceptual view to everybody why we do what we do. Don't keep the information in your head and just be giving blanket instructions and directives to people. Human beings are fundamentally conservative and resistant to change. The only time people are truly motivated to change is when they understand the consequences of inaction. Does the guy know what will go wrong if he doesn't deliver to this level, if he doesn't do the work timeously, if he doesn't meet this performance standard? Is he aware? Because the only time people are truly motivated to act is when they know what goes wrong when they don't act. I normally use myself as an example, how I have heard the importance of exercising frequently. I've heard it many times, but I never bothered to exercise and working out. Till I went to my doctor one day. They were like, "Jeff, how are you? Do you exercise?" And I said, "Oh, doc, the very nature of my work is exercise. I'm always standing on my feet, training, traveling. I can go through 5 countries in 2 weeks. And when I land in Ghana, that same day, I'll fly to Tamale." I was yelping the doctor. And this guy was just looking at me. When I finished, I was like, "Well, young man, everything you have just said is called stress. There's a difference between that one and working out." Then he pulled a diagram on his screen and took me through the human body. In the absence of exercise, we'll be gathering fat here. Your veins will get blocked. You know the part that scared me the most? He said, "You won't feel it now till after 60. Guys, do you know what happened to me? The following day, I nearly killed myself on the field. Now that I understand the consequences of not working out, I am more motivated to act. Human beings are conservative and resistant to change. The only time they are motivated to act is when they know what will go wrong when they don't act. And it's the responsibility of every leader to bring that clarity to every assignment within the organization. You got to get motivation and employee buy-in. Indeed, I've said time and again, I'll repeat, that a leader only succeeds when the people he leads agree he succeeds. So once upon a time, a certain government says that our pension scheme, SNIT, will have to sell 60% of its investment in certain hotels. The people say no, try it, and we will grind the country to a halt. We are going on strike, nobody will work. Well, the decision has since been rescinded. The leader only succeeds when the people he leads agree he does succeed. So it behoves on every leader to get a proper buy-in from your employee. Make sure, what do I call it? Let them see things through your eyes. They are not seeing what you are seeing. That is why they are objecting. Let them see things through your eyes. Okay, right? Because involvement breeds commitment. Providing guidance and direction. I have observed with keen interest in our part of the world how some managers, forgive me, have been reduced to, or have reduced themselves to some. I use the word some managers. I'm also saying some police officers. Some managers in Ghana behave like some members of Ghana police. That typical lazy Ghana police officer who is standing at the traffic light behind the electric pole. He's hiding behind an electric pole with one eye on your car bonnet and the other eye on the red light with a secret prayer in his heart, so that when you cross, he can arrest you. Because he has been standing there from 7 a.m. It's 11. Nobody have committed traffic offense. He has not made an arrest. He's not happy. Which one is your goal? That everybody does the right thing so we are all free? Or that people misbehave so you show them where power lies? That's how some Ghanaian managers behave. And this guy, the way he's going, I know he will miss the performance. I will get him a performance appraiser. Which one is your interest? As a leader, you got to know that the performance of the team is a reflection of your leadership. So when the team fails, the leader is failing. So why will you for once take interest in the fact that you want to show people where power lies? The work of the leader is to jump in when the employee is veering off, monitor, coach the employee. The work of a manager is in tandem with coaching. When you talk to managers about performance coaching, they tell you, oh, coaching is time involving. Most of the time, I realize that they don't even know it. You got to go to Samuel Ayim to give you proper training on how to coach. But some even tell you, it is time consuming. I don't have time to coach. And I tell them, you don't have time to be a manager. What do you understand a manager to be? Getting the job done through other people. And you don't have the time to coach the guys so that we can all deliver on product promises. You're as well telling me that you don't want to be a manager. Folks, when you are promoted to a management role, it simply means that there are problems to be solved. Indeed, when you are made a senior manager, it means that we have confidence in you to solve more problems than the other guy who is not promoted. Sometimes when I hear managers just shouting at their employees, don't you have brains? If he has the brains you have here, he would have also been a manager. Why do you think you are a manager and he's a subordinate? That housemate that you want to kill, if she had the intelligence, she would have also been a madam somewhere. It's because he's not at your level. That is how come he's your subordinate. And you have the responsibility to provide guidance, direction, and to coach. Ensuring innovation and light speed decision making. We don't have too much time to expatiate on some of these points. I already mentioned that size is no longer an advantage to any company. Rather, your ability to innovate and to act faster than anybody. So speed and innovation. Developing execution capacity. Too many companies have time to prepare strategy. But when it comes to execution, who made this statement? What is his name? Something Chunk. And he said, without strategy, execution is aimless. Now, without execution, the strategy is, Maurice Chunk is the name. Without execution, the strategy itself is useless. And so, it is not all about setting the goals and developing strategy. It is about executing on the strategy each day and every day. Each day and every day. I've been fortunate to have developed strategic plans for quite a few companies. I just completed that of Cape May. Prior to that, we did that of, what's the name? DevTraco, etc. Once we finish, the first thing I tell the managers, this document is going to be your Bible every day, each day. And if the strategy is done well, there will be very minimal variation in its execution. So I didn't say there will be no variation. There will be minimal variation because you are unable to envisage everything and you want to respond to exogenous forces here and there. Once the variation is significant, it means that the strategy itself is not properly done. So there will be variation all the same, but the strategy document have to be your guide every day. Solving problems and dealing with disruptions every day. Folks, there are a lot of hyenas in business. You know a hyena? When the lion hunts down that antelope, once it's done, the animal is good, the meat is ready. That is when the hyenas start running around, and they come in groups to chase the lion away so they can have. There are a lot of hyenas, people who are not original, people who are not innovative. All they are waiting for is to start. Once you start and they see the way, they will come to disrupt. How are you positioning to be able to mitigate the impact of the hyenas and business actions on you? Constantly revitalizing to meet changing requirements, driving sustainable growth, making choices between surviving today and building for tomorrow. And for this one, it is for very, very top guys, the MDs, the CEOs, and the rest. I take them on. We've got to make a choice between surviving today or building for tomorrow. And it's a decision every top executive got to make every day. The actions you are taking, are they just helping the business to survive today, or it is helping the business to, build for tomorrow? So I'm going to pause here and take your questions, and let's all have interaction. I know there are probably more experienced, leadership gurus in the house than myself. I've already mentioned that there are no absolutes when it comes to leadership. It is more situational than cast in stone. And so let's all have interaction. If you ask the question and have an idea, I would find a response. If somebody else wants to provide, responses to us, it would help the collective knowledge sharing for all of us. Thank you so much for your audience. And the moderator can take over, so we switch over to the part 2.
There's something in human nature that compels us to reach the next level. Whether you're working from a corner office or a kitchen table, leading a congregation or a classroom, measuring results in percentages or personal progress, we are all fueled by a desire to do better for ourselves and those around us. We've created an event to be the spark that ignites that desire into action. Live to Lead is a global event bringing people together from more than 30 countries around the world. You'll be challenged, encouraged, and inspired as you meet other men and women like you who are learning how to live their lives to lead others. Hear from some of the greatest leaders and influencers in the world. This year, for the first time ever, your host site will choose the content that will best serve you and your region and meet the values of your community. You will hear from a select combination of these simulcast speakers. John C. Maxwell is a #1 New York Times bestselling author and Horatio Alger Award winner. He was identified as the #1 leader in business by the AMA and the world's most influential leadership expert by Inc. magazine in 2014. 4-time Olympian Shantae Lowe is a world record-holding high jumper and gold medalist who has inspired millions with her story on platforms like ESPN and the O Network. Michael Jr. brings laughter and encouragement to audiences all over the world as he inspires audiences to discover and activate their purpose. His unique blend of comedy and motivation has earned him features on stages from TEDx to The Tonight Show. John Gordon has written 15 bestsellers, including The Energy Bus, The Power of Positive Leadership, and The Carpenter, which was one of 2014's top 5 business books of the year. His clients include Dell, Publix, Southwest Airlines, and several NFL, NBA, and MLB coaches and championship teams. Additional speakers may be international speaker and author Valerie Burton, Chris Robinson, who leads a team of more than 50,000 speakers, trainers, and coaches worldwide, Malcolm Gladwell, who has been called one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine, or serial entrepreneur and business expert Brandon Dawson. For the past 11 years, host sites around the globe have been hosting Live to Lead events in communities near you. Whether you run an organization with hundreds of employees like a hospital, bank, or school system, or you are a small business, church, or solo entrepreneur, your local host site is here to serve you and your teams. You can find the Live to Lead location and date in your area by going to livetolead.com and clicking Find a Local Site. This is your chance to grow you, to grow your leaders, and connect with other leaders in your community with a growth mindset. You never know who you will meet or how this day will impact your future. The only regret you will have is not being in the room. Live to Lead. Where in the world will you attend?
Hi, Sam. Your audio. Let's get your...
Thank you so much, Joy, and thank you so much, Doc, for those insightful thoughts that you've shared with us. I'm seeing so many people learning a lot. So let me quickly see who is learning what, and then we'll come back, see if there are some questions for you. First, Bedi Akun is here. King Akim is here. Is Isaac Aiku, I believe, joining us from Tanzania. He says, I would need further explanation on innovative speech. All right, so we'll come back to that. Isaac wants further explanation on innovative speech. Loretta Tando is here. He says, great learning, well done. Christopher Gavo says he's joining from Kufodia. I'm really learning a lot and enjoying the presentation here. Thank you so much. Abigail Techi is here and joining us from the Volta region. And we have Conrad Kakraba. It's good to hear from my mentor. So you have some of your mentees here. Derek Senior says, great presentation, please. What's the relationship between organizational strategy and organizational culture? They say culture will eat strategy for lunch. That's so what's the relationship between the two? And then I think those are the comments I have for now. So just 2 points there in terms of innovative speech. Maybe Reverend Aiku, you will come back. But Doc, this culture, you mentioned also culture, which is very, very important. So what's the culture and strategy? What's the relationship? And then we can go to other questions that Joy and I have.
Well, I through my research and maybe academic work, I've come across well over 50 definitions for strategy. There are two I normally work with. The first one is how we get our what's. Strategy is how we get our what's. Now, if we have to go, the second definition I've normally worked with is positioning to gain competitive advantage. As much as strategy is not all about competition, I mean, but to win in your own way. I mean, as much as Rolls Royce is for comfort lovers, Ferrari is for speed lovers, and these two companies can both be succeeding. They don't need to outcompete each other, if you may. And so, how we get our what? More like strategy set direction for the organization. That's how can we do the formulation of the strategy. We'll come up with implementational plans and action plans, and then we measure our performance, etc. If strategy is how we get our what is anything to go by, part of that how is the culture we put in place to make sure that it succeeds. So one culture, in my view, is just an enabler of strategy. Strategy is a technical thing. It provides direction. As culture is the enabling environment we create for the business, and how people interact with each other, and how processes are created, just to make sure that we can deliver on product promises. The two are not same. If they were, one would not be having the other for lunch, as Anka Sound had mentioned. So the two are two different things altogether, right?
Yeah.
When we finish, creating strategy, and we are developing the leadership in implementing the strategy, then we can have conversations on culture. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and I think when Doc was talking, he talked about strategy at one point. He talked about, the choices that you have. You do your analysis, and then you have choices. And he talked about focus, and he talked about having various options and choosing what you don't want to do. So at the strategy level, you're choosing what you want to focus on. Now the culture, and he mentioned it in another way, when he says that when he comes to your organization and asks you about, some of the important things, he talked about employees and customer and cash flow. And then you get the employee engagement wrong. That's where culture sits. At the employee engagement level, that is where the behaviors that happen in the organization. And Doc also mentioned that the vision is not just what you have on the wall. So you can have a great written vision on your wall. How does that vision translate into the life day to day of the people? That's the culture. So culture is like somebody says the software of the organization. If you like, the strategy is the hardware, and culture is the software that runs the strategy. So if you don't have the software right, you're not going to get your strategy on course. So that is the relationship. It's very, very important. And I think Doc said this in so many different forms throughout his presentation. So I hope that my brother has gotten that correct. I see Victoria says, great knowledge shared. And Foster says, great presentation. Please, what goes into employee happiness with regard to measuring organizational performance? But I want, Doc, you address that, but I think Reverend Aiku talked about the innovative speech. Maybe he's talking about how do you communicate effectively to be able to motivate others. That's my understanding of the question. But Reverend, you can come back if I'm wrong. But Jeff.
Thank you, and I like the way the way you put it. Strategy is the hardware, and the culture is the software. Thank you for enriching my lecture notes. That's how I'm explaining. I will explain better. All right. Okay. So, I think her question is bordering on refresh my memory. The last.
He talks about innovative speech. He says, how do you improve innovative speech? I think he's talking about how do you talk. I think it's around when you talk about communication, and I think that is.
Okay, but if I want to look at it from a larger spectrum of how employees get engaged and are happy, I think he used that word as well. As much as possible, and if you want to be very candid, I consider some 4 engagement drivers, things that really get people to kill themselves for the organization, if you may. The first one is the prestige of the firm. And when I talk about prestige here, I'm not just referring to how large and flamboyant the company is. Yeah, there are really large companies. I was asking the HR director of Bank of Ghana what their turnover rate is. So it's a near zero. I'm like, nobody lives here. I say, you're leaving Bank of Ghana to where?
And go where?
Right. So yes, of course, the tallow oils, the Eco Banks, the Bank of Ghana's, the MTNs, but beyond those flamboyancy, when I talk about prestige, sometimes I'm also talking about people working for organizations doing what resonates with their own values, without undermining any industry. There's no way me I can be a banker. If you make me CEO of a bank, I'll collapse the bank. I'm not interested. As much as I want to be in a training, learning, academic environment, once you fix me in those places, just the prestige, the pride that I'm into training or I'm whatever. So the first is the prestige, not only the size or the popularity of the company, but you work for an organization that is into something that naturally resonates with your value. The second thing is what you do in that so-called prestigious firm. You know, I was training once at Newmont's, the gold mining firm, and we had moved from one training room going to another training room because I was going to meet another set of managers. And I there asked an HR officer, I hope the projector in the second room we are going in is as reliable as the first one. I thought the answer should be simply yes or no. The guy looked at me and said, gentlemen, this is Newmont. In other words, next time, don't ask stupid questions. Newmont.
No answer
Newmont,
questions.
everything works. Why are you're asking at Newmont? You had Newmont. You see how he was feeling. He works for a prestigious firm. But right when I finished and I was leaving, a gentleman approached me to say he's considering resigning. Why do you want to resign from Newmont? The way what I'm doing here, I don't like it. I want to do. I don't want to give specifics. So I want to be in department B to do A, B, C, D. Not what I'm doing here. So beyond the prestige, what people are doing in that so-called prestigious firm is the
Yeah.
second engagement driver. The third engagement driver will surprise you, but it's true. Who the employee reports to, who is the employee's manager, who is the employee's supervisor. Sometimes
Actually, Doc, they say that people don't leave organizations, they leave people.
These people.
Precisely. Thank you for adding that to it. So, in many companies now, what we try to introduce is what we call the skip level interviews, because we want to know how you are leading your people. Many a time, the boss only hears from the manager how the guys down, but he never hears from the guys down how the boss is relating to them.
Yeah.
The fourth engagement driver, obviously, it's a reward system, compensation and benefits. Now, when you have these four and they are appropriate, if they are properly marshaled, chances are that people get motivated. I don't know if I said this the last time, but let me say it again. The last time I met you guys, let me say that before you ask for a hand, touch a heart. Before you ask for a hand, touch a heart. Now, if you don't touch a heart and you ask for a hand, will you get it? Yes, you'll get it reluctantly, minimally. People want to avoid punishment. They want to protect their daily bread. But really, the average human beings makes more decisions on emotional basis than logical basis. Trust me, guys. It in every area. I mean, go and ask the average Ghanaian, why do you save with Bank A? You hear things like the bank is close to my office, it's close to my residence, their name is good, blah, blah, blah. Are those logical reasons why you are doing business with the bank? The logical reasons are the interest rate, blah, 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 and all of that. But the average human being, so I tell people, you got to learn to deposit in people's emotional accounts so that you can do withdrawals. And quickly, when I was consulting for Kempinski Hotel, I spent some time with them 2019, 2020. One day I got to the hotel to meet the chief executive officer. He's left Ghana now, Manish. And Manish was in the training room whilst I got to his office. So they saw he's not around. Now, I was in a hurry that morning to get back to my own office because I had a meeting. So I traced him up to the training room. And when he saw me, oh, Jeff, you're here. Let's go to my office. We had to come through the lobby of the hotel. And at the lobby, he met a lady. Let's call her, for purposes of this conversation, let's call her Equia. Equia, good morning. If my memory serves me right, next week, Thursday, is your father's surgery. Is that right? And Equia said yes. Now, when we got to his office, like, sir, what was that? You remember an ordinary staff's, if I use the word ordinary, not the manager who was reporting to him or anything, a regular staff's father's surgery, not the staff himself. Oh, so yes. She came to my office some 2 months ago to discuss with me that the father was going to have say. He said, 2 months, and you kept it on mind. Realizing the surprise on my face, then the man made this statement to me that, Jeff, when you care about the non-work related things that affect your staff, they care about the work, and you, the leader, you are the winner. And so thank you for enriching my leadership notes. When you care about non-work related things that affect your staff, they care about their work. And you, the leader, become the winner. Before COVID, Kempinski was running 400 full-time staff, 300 casual and part-time, 700 people. The CEO says he knows everybody by face, by first name, by second name. And just because enough deposit was done into their emotions, they are not playing by 8 to 5 and that kind of thing. So leaders should learn to the leader, your role is to get a job done through other people. You only succeed when the people agree that you succeed. And so if you do not become a leader and it's just all about command and control, you will achieve a very minimal result. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Thank you so much. There is another question from William Dow for very powerful and insightful presentation. Thanks very much, Dr. Bassay. My question is, what is really wrong with some of our leaders who are manning our very big institutions and not flourishing and not flourishing, please? Well, I don't know. Doc, I don't know. I didn't know you were a psychologist, but that question is for you.
I guess you have to answer that question. Somebody asked me the last time. So this leadership lectures you are giving, can you go and give it to the MPs too? I said, this is not my calling. I'm not interested in political. My focus is business leadership.
I get that all the time.
Yeah. It's really very difficult to
Yeah.
to imagine why sometimes we can adduce so many reasons responsible for that: lack of the political will, the wrong person in the role, and all of those things. But it's very difficult to place a finger on the reason. So I can't answer the question to his satisfaction.
William, that's why we'll talk offline. But I thank you. I mean, there are different reasons: awareness. He talked about competence and so on. So there are so many reasons why people are not doing things they have to do. I don't know if Joy has any questions, because we have just 5 minutes. I think we've had a good time.
Yes, we
good learning time. Yes.
We have. Yes, thank you, Doc. I've picked up a lot of very good nuggets here. So I'm just thinking about, I've worked in a multinational, I've worked in a small team. And sometimes when we have these strategy sessions, you have the leaders come to the room with a framework. So they've sat to think about maybe some key pillars, or, then that's the time where they're soliciting for inputs from the ground up, let me put it that way. And I've had so many instances where the team on the ground says, but this thing, we've told you people from 5 years ago that this thing doesn't work. So how would you advise any leader to approach the strategy conversation? So it's beginning of the year or it's mid of the year, I want to set a strategy. Do I approach it from coming in with some sort of framework, or I go from the ground up? What is the best way that this works?
Right. We can go for a hybrid of the two, but the bottom-up approach normally tend to be more fruitful or easily implementable because the people identify with it. We just got contracted to do a 5-year strategy for one of the banks. And but I'm told that the CEO is hard to find, and I told them then I cannot do the strategy. But how do I develop a strategy for you without? So even we external consultant, we don't sit in our bedrooms and just bring you a document. We will interview every single manager. We normally will start from the CEO or functional heads. We will come back to the CEO to tell the CEO that your functional head say they want to go this direction. Do you bless it? Blah, 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 blah. So even as external guys, we do that. Now, I come from Mepe. Thank God for spillage. You now know my hometown, or you now heard of my hometown. And
Yeah.
incidentally, that is where I am right now doing this lecture, because I came down to the village to bury my auntie today, and I have to just hide in one of
But
the woods.
fortunately, you are not under the water.
I'm not. I'm not under the water right now. I'll be back in Accra by close of tomorrow. Now, the Akosombo Dam, or the Akosombo, the Volta Lake flows from the north through Akosombo and then down to my hometown, Batomepe, and then joins the sea in Adan. If the water gets contaminated in Akosombo, and we those down here in Batomepe, we are not aware, I mean, we are going to kill ourselves, right? The
Yeah.
problem with many managers is that too much information is kept to the chest of only management. I have been addressing this. 80% of the information we conceal from junior staff is absolutely unnecessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah. 80%. Not everything. Yes. So there are some 20% we will keep. I have been to organizations where branch managers do not know the strategy. The branch manager, he's only giving target. Make sure your branch rope in X amount of deposit per month. Okay, does he know what goes wrong if that deposit is not realized? Does he know how much of a hole it punches in the entire strategic plan if it's not realized? I've already said the only time people are truly motivated to act is when they understand the consequences of inaction. So for me, I have earned a title in my office I'm not proud of. And all the leaders, the managers in this platform listening to me, you have names your team people call you behind your back. If you know yours, you are lucky. Because for me, I've been leading the team for 10 years now. I only got to know 3 years ago that my name is Consultative Autocracy. Jeff knows exactly what he will do, but he will still organize a meeting. Because I want your inputs. I want to change our uniform from blue to gold. I know it's gold we will wear. You think I'll come and announce gold to you, then you'll be resisting and all of that. I'll organize a meeting. And first and foremost, explain to you why the blue does not resonate with our values, doesn't communicate where we want to go as a company. Then I will now ask you, what color do you think we should wear? Mention colors: red, green, move. If somebody mentions the gold, I'll pick it from there. Even if nobody mentions and I mention, and create the strategic relationship between the gold and our vision, they will leave the meeting saying, we went to decide to wear gold. The first one, they would have said, boss says we should wear gold. Now, let's come to implementation. The one that you wrote memo and put there by order or by management, you got to be around to police it on daily basis if it got to be implemented. The second one, when they were involved somewhat in the decision making, you are the leader, so you have a responsibility to influence. Somebody mentioned green. Did I accept? No. But I listened to you. And when I push my gold, I convince you why gold is the way. They'll leave the meeting saying, we went to decide to wear gold. Guess what? They don't need you to enforce. They will share responsibility to enforce with or without you, the leader. The problem is that we are managing too much and not leading. But guess what, folks? When you lead more, you have less to manage.
Much less.
The leadership is the meeting, the engagement meeting I held over the uniform color. So I don't now have to be supervising, checking whether people are wearing. Once you lead more, you got less to manage. So once you refuse to lead, get ready to look over people's shoulders, manage, raise your voice, shout, waste resources, make mistakes, redo all the time. All right. So that is what I got to say about the strategy. Make sure that the strategy is reflective, the general view of people, their input. Then they would want to be part of. So bottom up, most of the time, we will go for that as opposed to the top down. Even if you are going for the top down, you have a huge responsibility to break it down, to communicate, and relate it to everybody's assignment in the organization. That way, they find meaning to their work. They don't need anybody to supervise them because they appreciate that what I'm doing is what helps realize this. And if I don't do it, this is what will happen. Just lead more and got less to manage.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much. Foster, I think he says the MD says that if you take care of their non-work issues, they will take care of the work. So he wanted you to say that statement again. All right. I think we've hit the half of
Yeah.
the hour, Joy,
Yes, yes,
and
yes,
I
we
know we
have.
can continue with this. And Doc is always ready, and he's the next topic he's going to discuss. He gave me the hint. He's going to talk about leadership branding. So, Doc,
Yeah.
we have a date on that. All
Yes, sir.
right. Okay. So thank you so much. It's been great. All the feedback is showing great, 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 great. So we would.
Doc, sorry, I'll just let you show your last slide, how people can contact you, and then you can
Yes.
share your pattern words. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought the last slide. Okay, good. So this is the
There.
final slide. So um, directly I can be contacted. I do more of the WhatsApp because I teach
Yeah.
nearly every day. I'm either training, teaching, or something. So I return calls. But if you call me and I don't answer, I'll return it. Otherwise, you can just send a text. The number on the screen comes directly to me. 0244 otherwise, I lead the Institute of Leadership and Strategy. Those who know me to be the founder of HR Certification Center. Yes, I still am the founder, but I've resigned from the HR Certification Center. The leader is now Mrs. Pearl Amoramponsa. I chair the board at least to provide some boardroom leadership and strategy direction. So my main work now is with the Institute of Leadership and Strategy, where we run executive courses. Indeed, we do 2-day master classes for lower level managers, supervisors, officers, and those one. We don't do regular rank and file workers, no. But team leads and all of that, we do 2-day master classes. But for senior managers, especially who want to go into executive program, executive C-suite executive roles, you can enroll for our 8-week executive development program in leadership and strategy. Our third cohort will take off on the 10th of August. You either do only Saturday physical class or you do Tuesday, Wednesday evenings to make up for the physical. That is Tuesday, Wednesday evening is online to make up for the Saturday. Whatever happens physical is repeated online. And you have the liberty to switch in between. Indeed, we have had various persons, GCB bank managers, Ghana Port and Harbour. The Registrar General of Ghana, Mrs. Jemima Owari, just ended her executive program with us. So if you want to have details, you can just send me a hello on that number, and then you have all the details. I want to say a big thank you to especially Uncle Sam and Madame Joy for the honor of inviting me once again to share my thoughts. And to my audience, I appreciate your cooperation all through. This leadership thing is a journey. Let's be on. Like John Maxwell said, we don't sleep on success. We build on success. So even if you think you are already a good leader, you got to build more on your leadership attributes. Thank you all, and I wish everyone well in all of your endeavors.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy, and the team. Thank you for all those who join us. Until next week, when we come your way again with another insightful leadership lesson. This has been the leadership platform, and we encourage you to share. And Joy, I leave it to
Yes.
do the
Just
closing.
two announcements quickly before we go. For those who were not able to hear our book for the month for July, we're reading Who Moved My Cheese, a very popular book on leadership. It's very unassuming, but it's a tale. You would enjoy it so much. So find this copy so that at the end of the month, we can read and debrief together. And then we're also running a 2-day virtual masterclass, Put Your Dream to the Test, which is coming up on the 23rd and 24th of July this month. So you have the chance to join Uncle Sam very intensive session. I know we are in the middle of the year and people are wondering, am I going to see my dreams become a reality? So in these 2-day session, you get to be challenged with questions to look at your dreams, look at your visions, and see how you can actually implement this to become a reality. So don't miss the opportunity to join this 2-day virtual masterclass, Put Your Dream to the Test. The link will be in the comment section, and you can access it even after the session. We do wish you a very good rest of your week and hope to see you again next week, Saturday, for another episode of the Leadership Platform. Uncle Sam?
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night, and God bless you. Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Do you have a dream? Do you have a vision?
Do you have a goal for your life?
And will your goal be realized? What do you need to realize it? Is the goal your own? Have you counted the costs of that goal? Do you know what you need to be able to achieve that goal? Do you really want to be successful at achieving that goal? My name is Samuel Ayim, CEO of the Center for Transformational Leadership in Africa, and I personally want to invite you to our upcoming masterclass, Put Your Dream to the Test. It's a set of questions that we're going to give you answers to ahead concerning your vision, your dream, so that you are sure that your vision and your dream will be achieved. And register, because it's going to give you the resources, the ideas, the tools that will ensure that your dreams don't remain as dreams, your goals don't remain as goals, but that they are achievable. We're going to equip you to be successful. Make a date with us. Register now for our masterclass, and you will not regret it.